Oh, thank God, something less controversial. How's it going, dudes? JamesMCD here, back with a most excellent review. So, for those of you who haven't already clicked off of this video, today I'm going to be talking about the Bill and Ted movies. Over the past week, me and my girlfriend watched all three of them, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on all of them. So the first Bill and Ted movie, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, came out in 1989, and I'm not going to talk too much about this one because it's a fucking classic. Everyone has seen it. Everyone knows the lines. Everyone, quotes them. It's basically a play on the teen time travel story and shit like that, and it sort of flips the time travel sort of thing on its head by not worrying about all of the ramifications and like the paradox shit, which I really appreciated. It's definitely not my favorite out of the three, but it's just really fun. It's a really, charming story. It's funny. It has, like I said, a lot of quotable lines. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter have great rapport off of each other. All the historical figures are so charming and hilarious that you'll completely forget how some of them are straight up mass murderers. And the visual effects for the time were actually pretty revolutionary. Like, obviously they don't hold up as well today, but they are still definitely inventive, and I can appreciate it on that level. So going to my ranking for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I would probably have to give it a 4 out of 5. Next up is Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, the sequel, which came out in 1991, I believe. And honestly, I'm gonna say straight up, I like this one more than the first one. This is my favorite out of the three. I like it because it's so creative and inventive, and it doesn't follow the, sequel trap that you usually get where it's just a repeat of the first one. For those of you who haven't seen it, it deals with Bill and Ted dying because they were killed by robot versions of themselves from the future, and now they have to travel from hell to heaven, and they team up with the Grim Reaper to get revenge and all this crazy stuff, and it's just so weird and bizarre and out there, and you just kind of have to love it on that level. Especially from a visual standpoint, the visuals take full advantage of how just fucking weird and bizarre this movie is. Like, there are a lot of really bizarre camera angles and bizarre visuals, like, especially when they get to hell, like, they're sentenced to their own personal hell, and the imagery in those scenes are really fucking creepy and weird, and it almost feels like an episode of Tales from the Crypt and shit like that. And it's just so creative. The guy that played Death is hilarious. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. So going to my ranking, I would probably give this a 4.5 out of 5. And finally, Bill and Ted Face the Music, released this year in theaters and on video on demand. Bill and Ted, in the first one, were told that they were destined to write a song that would unite the world and save all of reality. And now it is like 25 to 30 years later, and they have still not written that song. So after they get a message from the future that if they don't write the song in 77 minutes, which is pretty clever actually, because it's more or less in real time, like the movie's runtime. But anyway, they get a message that if they don't write this song in this amount of time, basically the world will explode or some shit. So they decide to travel into their future and see which versions of themselves have written the song. Meanwhile, their daughters go on an adventure of their own to try and help by bringing together some of the greatest musicians throughout history and forming a most excellent band. I really liked this one. I was really worried because, usually when you make a sequel to a movie that's this old, it has the potential to be a disaster. But this one, I'm really glad they got the old writers back, and all the returning cast that could come back are back. And it's just really charming and really sweet and oddly kind of poignant. Bill and Ted, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter slip so seamlessly back into their roles. It's amazing. Alex Winter is honestly a really good actor, and it sucks that he hasn't gotten more work other than this. I think the story, even though it does feel like it borrows a bit from the first and second one, but it was still entertaining. It was a fun journey. It made for some really good gags and humor and stuff like that. The visual effects, even though, you know, they were still grand and creative and stuff like that, they didn't feel as memorable as the ones in the first two because they're obviously CG and very obviously green screen, especially when you go to the future. There were a few green screens that were pretty obvious. Again, the cast is great. I surprisingly really liked the daughters in the movie. Bridget Lindy Payne and Samara Weaving are doing really good Bill and Ted impersonations. You know, they were both really funny. I was surprised because I thought that, you know, after a while they might get annoying, but they never did, so I really liked that. William Sadler is back as the Grim Reaper, and he's hilarious. There's even a really touching tribute to George Carlin, which I appreciated. Obviously, the movie isn't perfect. Towards the second act, like, the jokes weren't really hitting as hard, in my opinion. And the movie also has, like, a really abrupt ending. Like, it's kind of just like, well, that's how we solved everything. Hard cut to credits. So that was a bit jarring. But I mean, I really can't fault this movie, like, especially considering, like, what it could have been. This could have been absolutely terrible, but I'm glad that, you know, the people working on it really did care about what they were working on. I'm glad that everyone involved, you know, put their all into it. They put 110% in. They got to tell this story that acts as a really nice sort of like swan song for Bill and Ted. And I really do hope that they don't try to push a fourth one out. Like, I mean, you could do some stuff with the daughters, but I don't want that to be the case. Like, I feel like the trilogy has come full circle. Like, you know, at the beginning they said that they would, you know, they would unite the universe through song and shit like that. Bogus Journey, they had just a really wacky and weird adventure, and it also showed, you know, the rise in their music career. And then Face the Music showed them finally paying off the prophecy in the first one. So, you know, it's a completed story. I don't think we really need to see any more. So, yeah, I really thought that this was a good movie. By no means perfect, and by no means the best one. But I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're a Bill and Ted fan. So if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the Bill and Ted movies, and how would you rank them from your favorite to your least favorite. Let me know. I'm going to have a couple more new videos coming very soon, and then I'm going to be taking a bit of a break to work on some stuff for Halloween, so stay tuned for those. But apart from that, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on when I'm posting. Follow me on all my social media, subscribe to my main channel, all that stuff will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.